Man, why didn't y'all tell me how dope this board was? Y'all be trying to keep secrets from your boy, man. Let's go ahead and talk about this AstroLab. This thing right here is actually pretty dope.
Bolo!
All right, before we get started, if you guys are looking to get an AstroLab or any type of keyboard for your setup or just anything for your studio, make sure you guys go ahead and click my link in the description, in the video description, and head over to Zcom. They have a whole bunch of stuff on the site, and they have a whole bunch of stuff on the site that does not require a credit or background check, meaning you can order it, they will ship it to you, you can use it, and then you can just make monthly installment payments on it. All you just need is a credit or debit card hooked to your account. And that's pretty much it. So if you guys are looking to get anything for your studio, doesn't matter what it is, if you're looking to get anything for your studio, make sure you guys go ahead and click my link in the description and head over to Zounds.com and get you some gear today. Yes, this right here is actually very dope. This potentially could be one of the best boards that I've used this year, period. And y'all know I got a lot of boards and stuff like that. But so far, this right here is dope, okay? We're going to talk about some of the features in it. I know it's already been other videos made on it, but I'm going to talk about it from my perspective. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I love a lot of stuff about this board. So it's going to be a lot of good stuff. However, there is one thing that I do not like. And of course, we're going to talk about that, but that's going to be towards the end of the video. But for right now, we're going to talk about this. This thing got a little weight to it too. Now, before I go a little bit further, Arturia did not send me this board at all. I actually picked this board up on my own, so I can pretty much say what I want to say, and I can say it how I want to say it, okay? So first thing, what I do want to say is the board has a basic layout. It's nothing spectacular. It is a basic layout. But the main thing that I would say that makes this board special is it has all of the Arturia sounds that you can store in your computer, but now you can have it in a standalone setting. So I can see why they're saying this is like a stage type of a board. However, I've been using this in the studio, and this thing actually is really dope because instead of me just using the sounds as a VST, I can use it in an actual board, run it through my gear, and get that analog sound. I know some of y'all are gonna go in on me with that, but just stay in there with me, all right? Yeah, so the board has a basic setup, has basic knobs and controls and everything like that. Now, I do like that they have all the effects and stuff like that right here on the board. You don't have to do like a whole bunch of menu diving and everything. And of course, if you want to pick some sounds, you can go through and they have buttons to where you can pick a certain category of sounds. And it's really, really easy to use the board. Like, I didn't really go through the instructions like that, which I probably should have, but it's actually very easy to use this board. Trust me, if I know how to use it, anybody can learn how to use it, all right? Now, on the back of the board, it has all the basic hookups. You can go ahead and hook this up to the computer to have control with that, or you can hook this up to any one of your MIDI devices using the 5-point MIDI pins or using USB MIDI, which I actually use that with my MPC. Of course, it has the outputs for the board, but they have inputs for the board as well, so you can, run some stuff inside of the board if need be. And it has all your pedal and controller inputs as well. So yeah, without being too technical, this is a board that has a basic setup, but the sounds in it is what makes this thing really dope. Now, with that being said, the star of this board is actually the big round button. That's what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it the big knob, if I can call it that. Now, this big knob or button is basically like the brains of the board. It controls everything. You can go in here and pick from sounds. You can, make certain settings and everything on here. It's basically one thing that you're going to use when you are using this board, okay? It's very cool. I like how they integrated this big button, knob, whatever you want to call it, on the board. And it controls everything. You can set up playlists and everything on here. You can favorite your sounds from here. And it's actually kind of cool. It has a nice little look to it, very colorful, very stylish, even though it's not that big, but, it does what it does, it's not bad. Now, as you guys can see, I got this thing hooked up via my MPC setup, and I do have this hooked up via MIDI. However, I actually use this a little bit different because of how the board is made. And like I said before, we're going to talk about that towards the end of the video. But I do have this hooked up via MIDI, and I actually track out a lot of the sounds directly into the MPC. So if you have an MPC and you do have an AstroLab, yes, you can use it with the MPC with MIDI, but it's a little different, you know, from like using it with like the Phantom and stuff like that. Now, I know some of y'all are probably going to say, but yeah, Bolo, it's cool, but it's not really a hardware synth, which that's cool with me, okay? Because Arturia never really boasted that this is going to be like a pure hardware synth. We all know that this is pretty much a VST in a box, okay? And I'm cool with that because the sounds in here sound incredible. And I always want to have a setup to where I could have, especially the Arturia sounds, to where I could use it outside of the computer. And with this, I can do that. And as you guys may know, when I'm producing, especially when I'm producing on my lives, I usually always start off with some type of augmented sound from Arturia. And with this, I can do it in a standalone situation. And it still sounds really good because now I can run these sounds out through my 1/4-inch cables into my preamps and then into my actual DAW and get that analogy, yeah, I just made a word, that analog sound. Or if I wanted to just track it into the MPC and sequence everything and bounce it out like that, I don't even need to use a computer. I could just use this. Now, the AstroLab is really cool because you can connect this with Analog Lab and you can go through all the sounds and stuff like that and update the firmware and do all the other good stuff with this, which is actually very dope. And if you have like a phone or whatever, they have an app to where you can control this via Bluetooth as well, to where you can save all your playlists and stuff like that and, you know, make changes to sounds and stuff like that through your phone. So they kind of got this stuff together a little bit over here. Now, I was going to wait to kind of like the end of the video to talk about this, but there's one thing that I did not like about this board that I thought that they should make this board capable of doing, and that is having multiple MIDI channels. Like, imagine if this board had like 8 MIDI tracks to where you could have several MIDI tracks and actually use this in a DAW-less setup to where you can just have a whole bunch of MIDI tracks. Now, it's cool that I can take each one of these sounds and run them into the MPC, which is very easy to do that now, or I can just run each sound directly into my actual DAW. But man, this would have been dope if this had multiple MIDI tracks instead of just one track. And just a little side note, I did notice that they didn't have a local switch or a local control on this board, to where you can actually turn the local control off or local switch off, and the only time you will hear the board is if there was a MIDI signal sent over to it in a particular channel. I didn't see that. Most boards that I do have that switch, even though some of them are not a multi-timbral type of a keyboard, but I did notice that this did not have it, or I just didn't see it. However, you know, I didn't see it. If it does, y'all let me know, but I didn't see one. But yeah, with that being said, since this is like not a multi-timbral type of a synth, I don't see why you would need it. But sometimes when I'm like playing my 808s, it'll be cool if I could use this board, and as long as the local switch is off, I can just kind of just use it to control other stuff. But I didn't see it. I know some of you guys are probably saying, but what about the sounds, Bolo? How do they sound? They actually sound very good, considering that this is a VST in a box. Okay, that's what it simply is. It's basically Analog Lab in a box. So if you like the Analog Lab sounds from Arturia, this is a board for you. And I'm going to be honest with you. The way they got this board set up, this is like a board from the future, okay? Because this is what I expect like sounds to be in the future. It's just like what Arturia is doing right now. I love my sounds in my Phantom, don't get me wrong. But the way they got these sounds in here, oh my goodness, these things are incredible. They sound exactly like how they're supposed to sound. And even when you're scrolling through these sounds, like it really loads up pretty quickly And you can really use this thing on the fly and on the go, especially if you're trying to come up with ideas or whatever, if you're producing in the studio or if you're on the stage. And of course, they have certain things inside of here to make it much easier, but I'm not going to go that far with it because I'm looking at it from a production point of view. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I actually made a beat the other day on my live. I'm actually going to pull up that beat and I'm going to play you some of the sounds that I actually used with the AstroLab on the beat so you guys can hear how it sounded once I routed everything in. The beat is not the best mixed beat, whatever, because I actually did it on live or whatever. You can watch the whole live too. I'll put a link in the video description, but you guys can hear how good this thing sounds. And I actually routed every single sound directly into the DAW, and this thing sounded really good. So let's go ahead and pull up that beat real quick, and you guys can kind of hear what I did with some of the sounds using this AstroLab.
Bolo, Bolo,
All right, so how'd you guys think about the beat? Did it turn out pretty cool? What you guys think about the sounds? I like them. I like them a lot. But the AstroLab, I'm telling you right now, this is the board of the future. Like, with the sounds that they have in here, how they put everything together, how easy it is to use this stuff. This is just a very, very, very good board. I'm not getting rid of this no time soon. This is gonna be something I'm gonna be using a lot. And if you guys are looking to get some cutting edge sounds and basically have an analog lab and a standalone type of a setup, this is what you need right here. So if you want to go ahead and pick it up, like I said before, click the link in the video description. And I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation. Hope you guys learned something from it. And I'm gonna be doing some more videos on this in the near future, okay? This is not gonna be the last one. I'm gonna be doing a lot of stuff with this, all right? So hope you guys enjoyed everything. And like I always say, peace out.